I have someone who would do justice to issues around the eco currency as well as talk about implications for Nigeria. He is Fred Uigwe and he's an economist. Thank you for coming on the show today.
I thank you for having me. Good afternoon to you viewers.
You're welcome to the show. Eco currency. Towards the last quarter of 2019, we began hearing eco more, and it was supposed to debut in January 2020. What's the eco currency about?
Eco currency, it's a single currency for member states to conduct their businesses with, and for businesses and individuals to conduct their transactions in.
Okay.
Okay, just like the euro is to the European Union, the eco currency is supposed to serve West African states. There are some 15 countries involved, but now there are 8 francophone countries that have made this move to launch at the date preset, the date that they had been agreed on, which is January of 2020. The very idea of a common currency for the West African region didn't start recently, about 30 years ago. It came really immediately after the decision to have a regional body, a regional cooperation, the ECOWAS.
Okay.
And it was felt that to strengthen the ECOWAS, it was necessary to have a common currency to also ease the business, to ease business within the region. ECOWAS derives its name from economics, Economic Community of West African States. Since it's an economic community, to be able to take it to higher levels, it was necessary to emulate what was being done in Europe, to see what was being done in Europe, and to see if it was something we could emulate. And that is why the very idea to adopt a common currency. Okay. And there are several advantages to having a common currency, which of course again, it's why the European Union decided to adopt one.
Okay.
It reduces cost of transactions because from one nation to another nation to another nation, every time you are conducting transactions, now if you have different currencies, you know all the handicaps and barriers that one, all those
exchange of currency.
Exactly, that you have to go through, and it also slows the process since you have to go through such processes, the exchange processes and all of that. It's not only costly, it is slower.
Okay.
So when you remove those, it becomes more efficient. You have a more efficient system. Efficiency basically is what all economic organizations and entities desire. So that is what informed the idea to adopt one, to adopt a common currency. All that having been said, that's a background for having one. There are other advantages.
Okay.
There are other advantages to it. The market, it's huge. The market of the member states we are talking about comes to about 385 million people, which is like the same size of market as Canada and the United States put together.
Okay.
So it is quite huge. It is attractive when you have to transact businesses within the same region, and you have a strong immediate market to conduct your businesses in. It also means better opportunities for you, easier opportunities, better opportunities for you. So those are some of the advantages that the adoption of a common currency hopes to be able to leverage on. And then you have to also think about you have to also think about the value of the currency. I think that is the attraction for me.
Okay.
Okay? The attraction for me is that when you all come together, then you are able to have a stronger, you are able to have a stronger position.
Okay.
Okay, to set or to drive a stable value.
Okay.
What you need in any fiscal setting or fiscal economics or fiscal monetary system is stability of value of currency. That is what we have been suffering in Nigeria. That is why we are where we are. We have not been able to progress to an industrial nation. With the introduction of SAP back in the late 80s, with the introduction of SAP, Structural Adjustment Program, the value of the Naira began to depreciate and began to do so very rapidly. Okay? And so we lost stability of our currency and of our foreign exchange rate. Because of that, we are now less able to buy the industrial goods or equipment that we need to be able to engage manufacturing. Okay? We are a consumer nation, like most of the West African, as a matter of fact, all of the
West African nations,
subject nations we are talking about that want to adopt this or that are adopting this common currency. We are all consumer nations. Okay. But when we now have a stable currency that is not subject to too high an inflationary rate and is not subject to high depreciation, because inflation is actually a regularization of value, of monetary value. Okay, so when you have that, then you are now able to buy those equipment that you need for production.
Okay,
and then that takes you out of
being
your
a consumer
nation, consumer status,
a productive
to an industrial status.
Okay.
So, which is the desire of all third world nations and emerging economies.
Okay. Now let's look at the road to convergence, because all these benefits that we stand to gain if we have a single currency looks beautiful, but how do we get there? There are issues like value superiority. In West Africa right now, the Ghanaian cedi is the strongest. It has the highest value. And then the question of, okay, so what do you peg the ECO is also there. These other countries that have not indicated interest of being part of the country that we use a single currency, how do we come together to achieve that one currency? Now, which country would, like for Ghana now that has the highest, how do you, they are pushing that the Ghanaian cedi is used as the value. So how do we come together to achieve that, being that we run separate economies, our currencies stand at different value? How do we achieve all of this?
Okay.
And then now have one fixed rate and say, okay, this is the rate of the ECO.
First and foremost, it is inconceivable that all the 15 member nations we have the same value, currency value at the same time or at any time.
Okay.
Okay. So there has to be compromise.
Okay.
And there are two major forms of compromise to consider. First is the fixed rate, which is pegging,
okay,
which you are talking about. And then the other one is the flexible rate, which is what Nigeria operates, emanating from SAP. The flexible one, it's the one that is much more accepted globally.
Okay.
Accepted globally in that it puts you on a tangent, to be able to value your currency according to what is actually going on. The pegging of a currency is artificial.
Okay.
Okay. So you peg your currency and you say, regardless of what, this is what it is. And you try to adjust that to other economies. Other economies, the advanced economies are all flexible. They all operate flexible systems. Okay. And that is what informed Nigeria to get in on board to begin to enforce flexible system, a flexible system. But we have to also understand the politics and the economics of other global players. See? There were a number of things that that affected or that drove Nigeria to where it is. And one of them, it's the membership in the OPEC cartel. Okay? In 1973, when some oil-producing nations decided to come together to form a cartel, okay, and begin to peg the price of oil, that meant that they were setting an artificial price for oil, not subject to market forces.
Okay.
Okay? And when you have a situation like that, buyers feel that they are being shortchanged. And because they feel they are being shortchanged, they will also feel a need or have a need. I will more than likely go with it. Feel a need to get back what they are losing from paying. That when you pay in excess of, as a consumer, okay, whether you are an individual, you are a corporation, or you are a nation, you pay in excess of the actual value,
okay, for what
based
you
on
get.
Market forces. That's economic rent. You're getting an economic rent in excess. It's a surplus. Okay, and nobody is comfortable with that.
With that,
because it affects your productivity, affects your bottom line, your profit levels. So it became the policy of the industrial nations too, to find ways to get us to devalue our currency. And then in driving that devaluation, they were now making us pay more too for the equipment we are now importing. They are equipment that we need to be able to import.
So they are getting back.
So they are backing back what they were paying us in oil.
Yeah.
So that politics is there, and it's something that you have to be able to catch. That, oh, this is what is going on. Russia decided not to join that cartel. Russia sold on a free market basis, which is a competitive market basis, rather than the pegged price basis. So Russia didn't have to suffer that. And those nations that all were members of that cartel, they were subject to such vagaries of economic policies and such attacks on their economics. But a lot of economists too will cite the success of Saudi Arabia in that regard. That Saudi Arabia has been able to, manage their own revenues derived from the gains of that cartel. It's true. Saudi Arabia has been able to do that. But the question is, would they have even gotten more from operating a flexible, that is a free market regime in the sale of oil than they did with pegging a price?
Okay, but coming back home now, are you saying it is better that we make it flexible in order to...
So I think that is where we are going to eventually get to.
Okay, to have a single currency.
That is where everybody wants to go to. That is the tangent everybody derives to go to.
Okay.
Because it's the regime that the rest of the nation, the industrial nations are playing in, and to be able to play in that same platform or on that same platform, you also have to work towards that.
Okay.
Okay. So Nigeria already is operating one.
Okay.
But the advantage of it is this: if the other countries that have pegged their currencies now choose to operate the flexible currency like Nigeria is operating, there will be more stability. If you noticed, shortly, I think, within a week, I think it was, after the Buhari's regime came into power in 2015, Tony Blair visited Nigeria. And the first thing he mentioned was that he came to Nigeria and to also advise the new administration to devalue its currency. Nigeria's currency, in my mind, it's undervalued, grossly undervalued. But many economists will tell you that it's overvalued, but I disagree, because you are going to look at the services and the products and the production within the country and compare it to what's obtained abroad. I'll give an example. A waiter here, okay, puts in about, I think I calculated about 200 and about, let me see, 75, almost about 280 hours of work time.
Is that monthly? Okay.
Okay, 280 hours, and earns about 20, and the lucky ones 25,000 naira.
Okay.
For the month. Okay. A waiter in the United States, let's use a biggest rate of $5 an hour. Works 40 hours a week, $200. That's $800 a month. $20 is how much? 20,000 naira. It's about $60.
So it's way
are you
much more.
Are you telling me? Are you trying to tell me that the American waiter it's putting in so much more in actual production, in actual service, than the Nigerian worker?
So if we move to a single currency, will that solve the issue?
If we move, we'll begin to bridge that gap. Okay? So the attraction, you see, like for a service such as I described, it's difficult to transfer because you are providing it locally. Okay? Like hospitality business. Okay? You are providing that locally. Okay. But when you have to produce materials for export, that's where the gain is supposed to come. But if all you produce, you sell cheaply because the value of your currency is so low, they get it dead cheap. So you are actually working for lunch. So it's like a couched slavery. It's like couch slavery.
But there's an argument that it's premature for Nigeria to be talking about single currency, being that it hasn't even signed up the regional integration in ECOWAS. And they feel like since Nigeria is one of the biggest nations in the ECOWAS region, getting into that agreement would mean that Nigeria bears the burden of the smaller economies. Do you agree with that argument?
I disagree. I would think Nigeria will even be the greater beneficiary of operating the system, operating a single currency. Nigeria has the largest market. Nigeria is the biggest economy in the region.
Okay.
Okay. And the biggest economy in the continent, for that matter. And Nigeria, the fear actually, which I fear, is that Nigeria may want to dominate
Okay.
Yeah, we want to dominate the process and the whole regime, which should not be. It should be complementary.
Okay.
Okay. The reason I cited the visit of
Tony
Blair is that if we had this cooperation, it would have not been easy for him to come and influence Nigeria to influence the devaluation of our currency. Okay. Because you will now be talking about 15 member nations.
Okay.
You have
so
to
it's
influence
not
all
you
15
can say to one country.
To one nation, exactly. So one nation is easier for the international community, the industrial economies, giant economies, to influence and manipulate the different countries the way we are right now.
Okay. Okay. But talking about agreeing now, because it depends on each member of ECOWAS to agree to have a single currency, though there are criteria, but we'll get to the criteria. Okay. But agreeing to be part of it, it seems like if you become part of it and you give up your independence of controlling your monetary policy, is now subject to what the entire West Africa region controls. Do you think most countries will be willing to give that up?
Okay, let's put it this way. There's nothing like a regional economic principle. I'm not talking about policies. A regional economic principle. Economic principles are the same globally, like principles for many industries. Okay, it's just like in principles of mathematics. 2 + 2 is 4 anywhere. 2 × 2 is 4 anywhere globally. So are economic principles. They are very definite. What do you need to do to be able to have the desired economic results? What principles must you consider to guide the policies, your policies? First and foremost, what you need for the region is security.
Okay.
Okay. First, we need to have a regional security. We have to be assured that the security of another country does not impede the business you try to transact with such countries. Okay. So there has to be stability of security in the region. Okay. Then you are going to talk about infrastructure. You have to develop your infrastructure. And part of that security doesn't just end with the physical security and all of that. Now we are talking of cyber security.
Okay.
So you have to be careful to make sure that your gains are not frittered away by nefarious activities in some other countries. So that security has to be strong across board and across the region. So once everybody is confident that yes, we can engage in transactions and our finances, our transactions are secure, then they'll have more confidence to do more.
Okay.
But I would say, like I said earlier, that the advantages of having a single currency far outweighs the disadvantages, especially because it is less subject to manipulation by external forces, external economies.
Okay. Okay, if you just joined us, we're talking about the ECO currency, the issues around it, as well as the implications for Nigeria. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll look at the criteria for member states to be part of that single currency. And the discussion continues now, ECO currency. Now, there are criteria. It's not just for you to be a member of ECOWAS region. There are criteria set. One of it is that a country that wants to be part of those who use the single currency, you must have an inflation rate that is single digit. But we know that Nigeria has double-digit inflation rate, so that seems like automatically we cannot even participate except we have a single-digit inflation rate. There are other criteria, but that's one of the criteria. Why is there even criteria for it? Why is not an all-comers affair? Provided you were part of ECOWAS, you should be able to use the single currency.
See, it is a regional economic cooperation and economic initiative. Okay. Setting criteria, in my estimation, should say more as a guideline than a list of criteria to participate in the process or to enter into the process. Like if Nigeria were to qualify, meet the criteria and be able to participate, and the other nation that is able to participate that meets the criteria is Liberia. Actually, when the criteria were set in 2016, I believe it was, and there was an assessment made, it was only Liberia that qualified, that met all the criteria. The other nations did not. Okay, let's assume you have only two countries. Then now you have only 2 countries participating in the whole process. That defeats the whole purpose.
Yes.
Okay. So it should serve as a guideline, as benchmarks, okay, to which they must strive to achieve at all points in time. 10% inflation rate. You must realize that inflation rates are not static. Okay. Inflation rates are high during recessions. So whenever there's a global recession, everybody's going to fall short of that particular criteria.
Okay.
Okay. So, and whenever the global economy bounces back and everybody is doing well, the inflation rate would tend to drop. So everybody qualifies. So are you going to say whenever there's inflation, everybody goes this way, whenever there's a boom, everybody comes back into the fold? No, it should not be like that. So they should just, the criteria should be set as guidelines to help nation states or member states focus on what they must do and to what they must aspire.
Okay, let's talk about
another one. It's the debt ratio.
Yes, yes, yes. Talking about having a deficit not more than 4% of GDP as well, and a tax revenue of not less than 20.
What was that again?
Fiscal deficit not more than 4% of GDP.
Okay.
Okay. And also tax revenue of not less than 20% of GDP.
Okay.
The smaller economies of Africa, do you see them?
So,
do you see them able to meet this criteria?
Yes, they are able to meet those criteria, but the problem is what informs that.
Okay.
So what is more critical is the ability to transform this whole region, and which is the desire, which is the purpose of this anyway, because having a stable currency should help be able to plan. If your currency is stable, then you can plan for a longer period of time, because you can project. Okay, but if it is unstable, then you have to make adjustment for the projected changes or variations, and that is much more difficult when it comes to planning.
Okay.
Okay. So this criteria, when you look at it, there are criteria set as for third world nations, as for not even emerging economies, but poor economies. The developed economies use different benchmarks.
Okay.
Okay. And there's no reason why we cannot use the same benchmarks. Okay. The benchmark for debt to GDP ratio for most developed nations, it's 1 to 1, 50%. Here they are talking about 70%. That's because also we want to reduce the risk, the risk factor.
I was coming to that because it seems like your economy must be a bit stable, even as a country in West Africa, to be able to part of it, so you don't pull others. Do you think that's the aim? So you don't pull others down, or you don't give these stable economies some form of problem later on?
There is no way you're going to have an economic cooperation where some member states are not going to
bear the risk of others.
Are not going to bear the burden
of
others.
Okay.
Okay. And because we are the largest economy and the biggest economy and all of that, that will presuppose that we are bearing more risk, but it's not actually so.
Okay.
Because per capita income here is lower than that of Ghana.
Okay.
So Ghana will be taking more risk actually than Nigeria is taking, because they are now risking reducing the standard of living of their people.
Okay.
Because you are now looking at the economy in totality. So we hope to benefit more from Ghana. But look at it this way. In all of the member nations, I cannot tell you right now which one, what anchor industries operates or can be identified with each of the nations. Okay, like Nigeria can almost say that oil and gas is an anchor industry for us. Okay, and so it is with other nations. So we hope to benefit from the anchor industries that are more developed in other nations than we are perhaps going to be able to contribute from the anchor industries that we have. So it's a give and take thing. So as we are benefiting from them, they are benefiting from us. Ghana recently discovered oil in their territory.
Okay.
So they are going to benefit from the already more developed technologies and operations and management of oil fields that Nigeria has acquired over the years. And we are going to, I think this could be subjective, but some people will tell you, some school of thought will say that the Ghanaian education system is higher than that of Nigeria today. Okay? Let's assume that to be the case. If that were the case, and were to get into this whole cooperation, then we'll be able to benefit from their advanced educational system. They are more advanced, rather. They are more advanced educational system. We'll be able to draw on it to impact us, to bring us up. Just as our oil industry, our oil and gas industry is bringing up their oil and gas industry. So it's a give and take thing.
Okay.
That's the reason for cooperation in the first place.
Okay. On a final note, as it was with the Euro, where you find that some countries didn't want to be part of it, and so they didn't go along with the Euro. But we found that over time, the strength of Euro grew. That is even higher, much higher than the US dollar. Do you think that if there's cooperation between the member states, there's a chance that the eco currency will, over the years, grow to become very strong? And then this problem that we have, that when you want to do international trade, you must convert to the US dollar, will be able to stand as, and then it can just be the echo to any currency for trade.
Exactly. That is why it is necessary for all nation states to jump in right now at the onset.
Initial stage, okay?
Yes, to be able to participate and benefit from the learning process.
Okay.
Because if you leave some member states out, By the time you introduce them down the line, they are going to come in and begin to learn the process. You are going to now have to burden yourself, or they will feel shortchanged because you are now going to be sending expatriates to them to guide them, to teach them what they should have learned from beginning. So it's better that we all get into the whole regime together, and begin to operate it. As to strength of currencies, whether a currency is strong or weak really doesn't matter. I want you to know that it's very important. Are you talking about
as individual nations or collectively?
Yes, as whether collectively or as individual nations. It really doesn't matter. What matters is whether a currency is stable. Okay? If you have a euro today that purchases a table like this for $50 this year, and in 5 years' time you're only paying $51 for it, that means your currency is stable. Okay. A stable currency, it's able to acquire more, it's able to help in development more, because on such stability you can plan and develop. Okay. So an unstable currency, regardless of how much you peg, if you peg it too high, it will become obvious. Because you can just peg your currency. It's nice to say, our currency is now worth $50. Our naira is now worth $50. Fine. But you have to back it with products and services. If the product you are bringing in that they want to purchase from you is not worth the $50 that you are saying it's worth, they are going to go to another economy or another economic block to buy that same product.
So it's more than just the figure attached to it.
It is more than just the figure attached to it. So it has to do much more with stability of currency.
All right. Thank you so much, Fred Igwe, for coming on the show today. We've been talking about the ECO currency. Like I said, it's more about stability, but how do we achieve stability if there is no cooperation in the West African region? Presently, it is 8 Francophone countries that have a single currency. And now for the ECO, only one Anglophone has indicated interest agreed and also met the criteria. Well, we're hopeful, looking forward to Nigeria, checking and see should we become users of a single currency, and let's see where that would take West Africa. So that's been the show today. I'm Blessing AJ. Join me again next week. Until then, enjoy your weekend.